This is the Second Studio, hosted by two architects, myself, David Lee, and Marina Nate. This week, the two of us are sick and in the studio, and it's just the two of us because we're sick and lonely. And it's a long-awaited after-hours episode, a way to kick off the new year, even though this won't be the first episode of the year, but nevertheless, we're kicking it off with an after-hours. And we're going to talk about our recent trip to Copenhagen. Copenhagen. I don't know.
You speak Danish now?
And I should say, apparently when you're marketing, podcast or anything, you have to stand out. So you can't just say, so for example, the title of this episode can't be Our Trip to Copenhagen. It has to be Our Crazy Adventure in Copenhagen. So that's what we're going to discuss.
So beware, it's going to be crazy.
The craziness of Danish. Okay, sponsors.
This episode of The Second Studio is brought to you by BQE Core, the all-in-one firm management software built for architects. Designed by architects for architects, Core helps you track time effortlessly, manage projects seamlessly, and get paid faster so you can focus on design, not spreadsheets. With powerful automation and real-time insights, it's everything you need to run a smarter, more profitable firm. See how BQE Core can transform your practice by clicking the link in our show notes. The Second Studio podcast is sponsored by Autodesk. And do you know about Autodesk Forma? Available standalone or as part of the AEC Collection software bundle, it's a specialized AI-assisted 3D design tool that can transform early project planning. With Forma, you can rapidly model multiple massing options at the start of projects and analyze the embodied carbon cost of different volumes, layouts, and material choices. You can then deepen your understanding of your sites by incorporating real-world contextual data for daylight, wind, noise, and more. So start your projects right with Autodesk Forma. Check out the link in our show notes to learn more.
This is the Second Studio with the two of us. Here we go. All right, kicking off the year with the cold. And we're going to do a little recap of the recent trip to Copenhagen. You want to give an introduction to why we went to Copenhagen? What we found when we were there, the flight there?
You tell me.
Let's pull up the photos. I don't remember anything unless I see photographs of.
That is a little bit worrisome.
But I read an article years ago that, kids, for them to remember their childhood, one of the ways to do that is to show them videos and photographs of themselves. So it strengthens their memory.
Yeah, but do they remember the childhood or they just remember the video of themselves?
Well, I don't know. I mean, at some point everything gets kind of blurred. But so thanks to, iPhones and whatever else, we can relive every 2 hours that we've lived already. That's basically what we do. We take pictures, we look at it 2 hours later. Oh, that was a fond memory of 2 hours later. And as usual, we will probably have another episode where we talk about architectural stuff. If you even had that part of your eyesight and brain turned on during the trip.
Well, I did, but I was trying to be on vacation. So I was
squish it down.
Not.
So this is not. So yeah. So maybe this is less architecture heavy. This conversation, we'll see. So we were in Copenhagen we were gone for 2 weeks, but, in the city for 10 days, 11 days, 12 days rather, with flights and whatever else. We chose to go there. One, none of us had been there before. It's obviously, at least in my experience, in my circles, it's a place of where a lot of architects go. So when I was in school, we have the study abroad programs. Copenhagen was always one of the programs. I'm sure it's still the case now. Mm-hmm. And all the students that went there, it impacted their thinking, their lives, their careers, whatever else. And so it's always been on the map mentally for me as a architectural place. Not that it's filled with architecture, but it is, but more that there's something there about the thinking, design thinking with the Danish and Copenhagen and whatever else. And also, frankly, we wanted to be just abroad, somewhere else, and easy, in case there was medical issues with the older parents and whatever else. So,
yeah, I mean, the idea was to spend Christmas with, both grandparents for our kid, right? Mm-hmm. And so the first idea was to spend Christmas in the French mountains to get some snow. But then with that idea came the realization of, older parents, babies, strollers, slippery slope, people falling, breaking things, and just kind of like, it just sounded like exhausting just thinking about it. And also everything was already booked like way in advance everywhere, so it was hard to find something at an affordable price, let's say. So then Copenhagen came as an idea, also because we have a very good friend who moved there a few years ago with her family, and it was kind of like the opportunity to see them, see a new place, be in a climate that's maybe more prone for Christmas feeling, and also like see some cool stuff. So it seemed like it was kind of checking a bunch of boxes. So
did you have any preconceptions of the city?
I had no idea what Copenhagen looked like. I did not even look at it before.
Yeah.
I've also heard about it a lot from friends, architects or non-architects who, went there. And
you have non-architect friends?
Oh, but yeah, we've met a few people who, went there and had great things to say. So it's interesting because I feel like I've visited a few countries in Europe, but mostly in the south portion of Europe and not as many above where France is, I would say,
sure.
or slightly above where France is. So Copenhagen was kind of part of that, Nordic territories that I know nothing about. So it sounded cool.
I also knew nothing about the place, and it's weird because when we go to visit a new place, on the one hand, I feel like not knowing anything about it is a great way to go into it, like seeing a movie and not knowing the trailer or anything. At the same time, often when I arrive in a new place, I'm like, I wish I did some research beforehand just so I could appreciate what I'm looking at.
I agree with that, and I think the next trips that we're going to plan, I think I might book a day with a local guide or a local person just to... We had our friends living there, so we actually learned about the place from talking to them about it.
Yeah.
But I think that, like you see tour guides with their flag and they have a group of 15 tourists that they drag around town and this and that. I'm not really interested in that per se, but I think it would be cool to, like we went to Japan on our own, and that was one of our regrets, was to not have been able to talk to someone who lives there and just kind of understand it from a first-person perspective rather than from a foreigner perspective.
Well, this goes back to what I said earlier, I think maybe in one of our recent recordings, is that I feel like, so when I was younger and I had younger age architect friends, the cool thing would be to go to a place and just, what am I saying? Kind of like backpack it. Nothing planned, don't do touristy stuff, go the back roads, find like this hole in the wall cafe or eatery. And that's how you get to understand a place and the architecture and the people intimately. And doing anything that's remotely touristy is considered kind of like not cool in effect. But honestly, I've said it before, like bus tours we've done in places we've lived, like New York City or San Francisco, despite being a resident of those places for quite some time, doing a bus tour, I'm like, actually, this is quite nice because now I actually understand more about the city. It is informative. And yes, it's touristy to be on a big bus, but you get a good view of the city. So I don't know, more and more the idea of doing touristy things as being uncool, I'm like, yeah, shut up. Like, how else am I going to learn about a city? I
think it's a balance of doing some of that and some of more like low-key type of things.
I'm always tempted when I see those tour groups to just kind of tag along.
Oh, me too. I always kind of want to hang out and hear what they have to say, like, oh.
Hey, what are you doing back there? You didn't pay for this. Oh, I'm just looking at the birds. So anyway, my thoughts of Copenhagen before going there, again, I didn't see any images of it, but I knew from the urban design courses and architecture colleagues, it's a flat city, it's easy to get around, and biking is incredibly easy, and so transportation and getting around it is very easy. So I had always, like really subconsciously, unintentionally visualized Copenhagen as during a summertime, which we didn't go during the summer, so it's different, and that they would have everywhere bike lanes on all surface streets, in the major areas that were dedicated, wide, perfectly paved, brand new paint lines on all the streets, and it kind of a picturesque, vision of things, and that was not the case. One, it was great because it was winter, but two, there's a lot of bikes and a lot of biking, but it's still a urban center kind of place where we were. Right. So it's not like you have Legoland, right? Neatly categorized, always. Sidewalk that's pristine, bike lane that's pristine, that's a nice, healthy 6 feet wide for each bike going one way or the other or whatever else, and then some shrubbery and then some road. It's not the case. It's just road and then there's bike lanes, but it's not as pristine as I would have thought. Because like in urban design, urban whatever courses, you learn about about transportation systems, you learn about alternative ways of getting around and how biking is so productive and so is walking. And like the pinnacle of street design is a street that is in a way conceptually not very interesting, but you have all these different modes of transportation coexisting in a shared space, more or less. And what that requires is dedicated, safe lanes for each of those types of transportation. And now I've just realized we're not even talking about the trip, but Copenhagen and Denmark and other places like that are always talked about as being the place that has these systems in place, in the best way, like the epitome of the ideal street. And so that's what I had imagined, because we have those, in LA, in New York, in SF, in little slivers here and there. Yeah. I imagine Copenhagen was going to be like that everywhere, right? That kind of pristine delineation, but it really wasn't the case.
No, and I mean, it's also an older city, so a lot of the roads were paved roads and not, asphalt and this and that. But I think, but in the same time, I don't think you necessarily need that much, let's say, segregation within the street if it's more common. It's part of the culture.
Agreed.
Like, people are respecting the red lights. People know where to bike when they're biking. They're biking in the middle of the freaking road. They're biking on the side so the cars can go by. Pedestrians know not to walk where bikes are biking. Yep. So in a way, you don't necessarily need that much, graphics on the ground to tell people what to do, because they know what to do. So
that's... we haven't even gotten to the trip. But so that's interesting, right? Because of the places I've visited... Japan is the most organized and polite in terms of how people move on the street. Mm-hmm. Copenhagen is second to that. Mm-hmm. There's maybe some other places I haven't been to, but it is very restrained. It's
interesting because I felt like Copenhagen was the Japan of Europe.
Kind of, yeah.
In a toned-down version of Japan.
Yeah.
But kind of like streets were clean. People, less cute.
Less pink.
Streets were clean. People were respectful of the rules, and maybe a bit less cordial than Japanese people. But kind of like everybody's just minding their own business and living the life as normal human being and not being dumb.
It's a really good point, though. Like, if a society has adopted a pattern of behavior that allows for, in this case, safer means of getting around and a variety of means of getting around, then you don't need to have, graphically or physically all the stuff that I mentioned, because everyone adheres to it so strictly.
Yeah.
I mean, it is the case where in Copenhagen, if you're at an intersection, even in an area that's a bit more remote from the central part of Copenhagen, you're kind of on the outskirts a little bit. You're at an intersection and almost no one's around, and you're waiting to cross with someone else, and there's no cars, there's nobody, and it's a short road. Like, you could just walk across in 5 seconds. People will wait. They don't cross. And I mean, if you're really in the sticks of nowhere, then you're going to cross and jaywalk.
I did cross when it was red.
But I think the entire time we were there in the centralized area and then the outskirts area, I think I saw one person cross when it wasn't their time to cross, and that's it. And that was, again, like...
Well, and and another time it happened, and there was a car that was coming, and the car does not slow down. Even if you are on the street as a pedestrian, the car is not going to slow down for you.
Right.
And...
But that's
in a way, it's like, well, look, there's the rules. This is their understanding. If you want to break it, it's at your own risk. I'm not going to change the rule.
That's the same kind of mentality that the cyclists have, right? Because if you're in the bike lane there, people are not happy, and they will let you know that they're not happy, and they intend on keep going the same speed. And it's, on the one hand, culturally, coming from where I'm from, you could say, well, that's like rude and unsafe. But on the other hand, it's like, well, no, but you're the one that's out of line. So you're at fault And so this is their way of keeping everyone in check is, no, I'm keeping you in check by doing what I'm doing, supposed to be doing, and you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. It's your problem.
In a way, that's the correct reaction to have. Otherwise, people would just keep doing what they're not supposed to be doing, and then we're back to like, the world we live in on our side of the world, right?
That also maybe points to some of the directness that seems to be part of the way people express themselves, physically, how they move, how they talk. It's a bit more, it's not like Southern California. Everyone's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Like, oh, how's your day? Oh, it's amazing. There's not really that kind
Americans are known
to be over the top.
To be like, oh yeah, over the top.
Yeah, Southern Californians, yeah. So anyway, so to the trip. So of course, no trip travel-wise goes according to plan. And I would say the first leg of travel, the part that did not go to plan was this. So again, we're traveling with not just the two of us. There's a kid, there's grandparents. It's kind of a group. And some of us are coming from California, some of us are coming from France, whatever. From California to Copenhagen to Europe, it's a long trek, and a lot of people know this. It's like 12 hours, 11 hours, or whatever, which is why I miss
it's
New
more
York.
than that because there's no direct flight to Copenhagen from LA.
Right, so we do a layover. So it's a long journey.
18 hours total.
It's stressful. It's international. All these things. We booked tickets on Swiss Air. Not my favorite company, but they're not the worst. So whatever. Get to the airport ahead of time, like 3.5 hours early, 3 hours early, whatever, right? Well, let me take a step back. Because it's a long trip, we park in the remote parking. So you have to park there, haul your luggage to the bus stop, wait for the bus, haul your stuff into the bus, take the bus for 15 minutes or whatever it is, to LAX, do a big donut around the thing because the international terminal's at the end, and unload all your stuff. It's all this like effort to get to the front, not the front desk, the concierge, whatever it's called. We're checking the baggage. We're going through all the motion of the baggage is being onboarded. There's a slight weight issue, but things are being resolved, and all this is like slowly reducing stress because everyone knows when you travel, all it takes is for one of those points to fail, and like now you're kind of like fucked or you don't know what to do. All of it's going smoothly until the guy behind the countertop is like, "You have a baby." I'm like, yes, baby, it's here. You can see them. Do you have a car seat? No, we don't have a car seat to bring into the airplane with us because it's not required. He says it's required. I don't think so. The car seat's not with us. The car seat is in the car back in the budget parking, the long distance parking lot, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, by the time you get to the counter, do the suitcases, like time has gone by. So this was the major stress point for us because now I'm looking at my watch. I'm like, okay, some of us have pre-check, whatever, TSA pre, which allows us to go faster. Some of us don't. We don't know how long the security line is. International, sometimes I feel like it takes longer than other times. And now we have to potentially go back and get the car seat, which is not a quick journey because you have to wait for the bus and whatever else. In the end, we decide we don't really have a choice. So we split. Some of the group goes forward to get on the plane, and some of the group, like us ourselves, stay behind to try and solve the car seat thing. Just in case it doesn't happen, at least two of us can go on this trip, and the other three just, I don't know, fucking figure it out. Now the clock is ticking, so I abandon everyone. I sprint to the bus stop to wait for the bus. The bus, because it's a long, distance parking, it only arrives every like 20, 25, 30 minutes. And I happened to just miss the bus that was going to pick me up. So I sat out there for 20 minutes. I'm scrambling to see if I can take an Uber or a Lyft to get to that parking area faster. But no, because LAX and most airports, you can't take an Uber or a Lyft or ride sharing in the normal area. You have to walk to some remote section, which is like on the other side of the airport or whatever. So finally get on the bus, sprint from the bus to the car, get the car seat, and I'm not the one who loads the car seat. So it took me some figuring out to unload the car seat and sprint back. We made it fine through security and everything else. And we had about 15 or 20 minutes of spare time before people started loading the airplane.
Yeah, so when they say,
like,
you should be there 3 hours before an international flight. you really should be there 3 hours before. And if you have a kid, you probably want to be there even before that, to be honest.
And these car seats, at least the one that we have, it's a pretty big... I'm not a big guy. I'm not particularly athletic right now, but this car seat is massive. And I'm having to run around the airport and across parking lots carrying this. It's probably weighs...
It's heavy.
35, I don't know, whatever, 5 pounds. We didn't even have a bag for it because we weren't planning on taking it. So I'm just lifting this thing.
Yeah, so we were not planning on taking it because once we get to Copenhagen, we're not renting a car, driving around. We're taking public transportation. So we have no use for the car seat during the trip. You book the tickets. It asks you, how old is the infant? Is it under 2 years old or whatever? Are you buying a seat? Fine. It doesn't tell you in big bold red letters, you must use your car seat in order to be able to use your seat. So we were trying to understand that, with the guy at the counter. We're okay, well, we don't have the car seat. We're not planning to use the car seat. We have no use for the car seat besides maybe the flight. Well, if you don't have the car seat, we cannot keep the seat for your son. I'm okay, but I bought it. So what happened? Well, you have to contact customer service after if you want to try to get a refund. I'm well, that's bullshit. No, I'm not going to do that. Also, I paid for the seat. I want the seat.
So then we would be stuck with 2 seats with him on our laps and a random person next to us for 12 hours. Fuck, you kidding me?
I'm no, I pay the seat so I don't have to have 30 pounds on me for a 12-hour flight, right? So I asked the guy, I was well, is it possible to put his seat under my name so we can keep the seat? No, you can't. I'm but that's kind of bullshit. If I was a 500-pound lady and I want to buy 2 seats because I cannot sit on one seat, you let me do it, right? So why can I not do that? What if I want to buy the whole airplane, all the seats? I can't do that?
I don't know.
So
it seems sketchy to me.
So it was a little bit stupid. I think there might be a rule that says if your kid is under 2 years old, you have to have the car seat in order for it to be on the seat. But nowhere when you book the ticket, it tells you as a big warning box pop-up that's the condition of use for the seat. So I feel like this is a little bit misleading.
We'll jump to the very end of the trip.
And then
the saga of car seat doesn't end. So
we get that car seat, with us.
Yeah.
Fine. The kid travels fine in the car seat. It ended up being okay. But then guess what? We have to also switch flight. We have a connection. So we got to carry that car seat around to the other airport. And it's another thing we have to lug around that we're not planning on to.
And what's odd is that when we do our connecting flights, we land in Zurich and then we fly from Zurich to Copenhagen. So that's an hour and a half, 2-hour flight, whatever. When I'm boarding the flight...
But even the first one. Even when we boarded the first flight with the car seat...
People were looking at us
weird. The flight attendant were oh, you have a car seat? We're yeah. And they looked at each other oh, okay. And they're is it fastened? I'm well, yeah, of course it's fastened.
Yeah.
Take me for a beginner.
Yeah, because some car seats are rated or approved for air travel and some aren't. So anyway, we get kind of odd looks going to Copenhagen. Fine. We're there. We're in Copenhagen. The car seat just sits in the corner of the apartment. And then we're flying back.
We tried to get a boarding pass at the kiosk, the self-service kiosk, right? Of course, the machine works for 2, but not for everybody. Fine. Then apparently, if you have a baby, you can't get the stuff unless you go to the counter. So fine, we go do that. We speak to a real person. We get our bags checked in. We get our boarding pass printed, right? And then we go to security. So we're good. We
get to security. We get stopped in security. And they say, is this your car seat? We're yeah. And there's a lot of discussion between the personnel. And they come to us and say, you can't take this on the plane. And all of our mouths dropped. We're what? And their reasoning, they said, it's too big. And I said to them, I said, okay, well, what happened was we took Swiss Air to get here. We're taking Swiss Air to get back. We were told by Swiss Air we needed to have this car seat. Otherwise, we couldn't have the kid on the plane. And now you're telling me I can't have the car seat. So 1 and 1 is 4. What does this mean? And the security checkpoint person, who was polite, to be fair, she was it's too big. You can't take it. I said, it's too big, but we flew with it here on the same plane as flying back. So how is it too big? Basically, the way it works, as you would expect with all this kind of shit, is that the people in charge of security only care about that section of space and authority. They don't care about anything else. She's like, well, I'm the security checkpoint and I'm responsible for this, and it's too big so it can't go through. I'm like, right. But again, I don't really care about what you think when you're within your domain. Can you think beyond that and tell me how it makes any sense at all that we were required to bring this, and now you're saying no? And so I said to her, so it's impossible for me to bring this on the plane. She says, yes. She says, you have to go back down and check it in as an odd-shaped, or what are they, oversized odd-shaped check-in item. So, a lot of thoughts are going through my mind, but one of them now is like, okay, so I have to do this hustle again of carrying this car seat around in a different airport. And we got there early, but I'm like, again, I don't know how long this is going to take, and the good news is that the folks working at that airport were very, very efficient. They could see in my eyes. I'm thinking this is LAX, where it's going to be a shit show. Like, no, I'm going to walk you to this point. My colleague will walk you to that point. You take the elevator down, blah, 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 blah. So all the kind of reverse checkpoints I had to do were very efficient. Of course, though, where I land at the first floor compared to where I have to go to the counter is like not close to each other. So we go back to the counter, to the same Swiss airline counter I did, and now it's a different person working there where we checked in the baggage. I'm like, okay, I'm here. I have the special pass that has some kind of language on it that says I need to check this thing in, blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, cool. I can register it for you. I said, yeah, they told me this car seat's too big. He took one glance. He's like, yeah, it's too big. That won't go on the plane. I'm like, well, why didn't the previous guy tell us when we were down here to begin with? Buy a plastic bag.
Why did the one at LAX did not want us? You will need to use it to go there, but they won't allow you to use it to come back.
So he said the Danish person at the counter said that the Europe and United States have different size limitations or requirements. I'm like, whatever, dude. Whatever. So I have to buy a bag from the airline to put it in the bag because I don't want the thing to get damaged. It's like, okay, now you got to go over there to drop it off, which is the other end of the fucking airport. Go over. So I made it through okay, but it's like, I didn't expect to like expel so much sweat before I even start, the 20-hour journey to get back home. So anyone who's traveling to Europe with a baby and a car seat, I don't know what my advice is. I guess call and double check and triple confirm what is needed or not needed. But apparently the car seat we have is too big, which is a standard well-known brand in the United States.
I think also what happened is that when we went to, and that's just my guess, when we went to LAX, we had our kid in the body carrier, right? Like you hold a baby, although he's huge, but he was held like a baby. I feel like maybe if he was standing on his feet and walking around, the guy probably would not have asked for the car seat. Because a 2-year-old doesn't need a car seat, and he's heavier than 2-year-old kid. So I understand the regulation, but also it's like, well, look at the kid. Like if the kid is 15 pounds, and he's going to need a car seat. If he's 30, like it doesn't need the car seat. So anyway, that was a very frustrating start of the day.
It's the kind of thing where, again, the folks that were working at the whole Copenhagen airport, I don't blame any of them because they were following the rules that they have to follow. And
no, but they were not
polite.
Clear. No, but they were not clear. They're like, you can take that. And it's like, okay, lady. Like,
but obviously I can because I've done it.
I'm like, well, I need more explanation than you can take that. You have to check it in. Like, you understand that was not my plan here. And then, like...
Well, the other thing, too, she's like, well, what time's your flight? Which could be construed in two ways. One, it's her being courteous to make sure that if I have to check in this thing, that I'm not going to miss my flight. On the other hand, I'm like, well, if I told you my flight was in half an hour or 20 minutes from now, would you be like, yeah, fuck it, just go?
Well, then I asked her, I was like, well, can we take it with us and check it at the gate?
Right. Yeah, so I don't have to go back through.
Maybe we can use it, I don't know, maybe in Zurich it's a different regulation. Maybe I can use it from Zurich to the United States for that 12-hour flight I'm about to board on.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't know, we're just security check. I'm like, you said that, but you also tell me that doesn't go on the plane. So therefore, more than just a security check. So it was just kind of silly. And then they made us put out like all the food items from the backpack, which there was no sign anywhere saying that you have to take that stuff out. So I don't know. I didn't have to take it out coming from here.
This is why I don't like flying. Even when you have...
I mean, it's like that, that one time we flew back to the States from Paris. And that lady behind me in the line had bought a lot of nice cosmetic in Paris. And they were like, well, you can only fill a tiny Ziploc bag, so you can't...
A quart-size Ziploc bag.
A quart-size Ziploc bag. So all of that, you have to leave it here. And she's like, are you kidding me? Like, I spent so much money.
It's like hundreds of dollars worth of
I'm like, you
product.
can't, like... I mean, I understand different country, different regulation, but aren't airport kind of like a non-zone whatever thing? Like,
I don't think it'd be that difficult for them to get together and be like, hey, let's agree on like some standards.
I know. It's like, I don't know.
Especially when it's an international airplane. Like, it is the same airplane
that you use
over there as in over here. There's not an issue with things fitting in an airport. It's just the airplane.
I know.
But it's the same airplane.
So anyway, so the trip back, we got the car seat back and everything. The car seat was not damaged, but then we got our stroller, and our stroller is freaking damaged.
This is why traveling is difficult. But anyway.
But we actually made money on the stroller, so.
All right, so that's the first.
So that's the start.
But and that's the thing. Every time you go to travel, you're always a little bit worried that something's going to happen. And which, for me, I'm like, okay, this is the thing. It's the car seat. Unfortunately, it wasn't something else. Unfortunately, we made it on there. But when we got to Copenhagen airport for the return flight, they're like, you can't take it. I'm like, what? Am I in a movie? Are you serious right now? Are you serious?
Well, then it was like, we got up at like 4 a.m. It was like almost 24-hour trip on the way back, and you're already anxious of how's the day going to go? How's the kid going to be in the plane? Like, how am I going to feel? Because we were all more or less sick, and then this happens. It's just not cool. But I forgot what I was going to say.
Copenhagen, flying, landing, food.
The weird thing too is that so we had a connection in Zurich, right? Mm-hmm. And so we passed immigration in Zurich, but we didn't pass any immigration in Copenhagen, which, I mean, technically Switzerland is not part of Europe. So my thought was like, oh, maybe you just pass it once you land in Europe, and that counts for any country you go to afterwards.
That's true.
But Switzerland is not part of Europe, so...
I don't know.
So they can let you in their country, but you can't leave with a car seat. I don't quite understand that.
I don't know.
But anyway, once we got there, it was actually pretty cool. We thought about taking the subway, to get to our hotel, and it was actually not that far. It was just 4 stations away.
We could have easily done it, but
but after a long trip, we decided let's just take a cab, and it was actually pretty awesome. We got a cab that was a minivan with the seat facing each other in the back. And that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it worked out really smoothly. Again, like cortisol stress levels are quite high when traveling because I'm more used to cities and places that don't function properly.
Yeah.
But things in Copenhagen are so smooth, which we'll talk about, that, getting a cab, there's a clear line, big area of cabs, person helping you. They find the right cab for you. It's all taken care of. And everyone
the driver
there
drives
speaks
really safe.
Everyone speaks English there, so that was absolutely not a problem at all. And we get there. And now a quick break to thank the sponsors who support the second studio. Are you tired of juggling multiple pieces of software and struggling with spreadsheets that aren't made for the realities of design and architecture in 2023? Built by and for designers and architects, Programma's all-in-one suite of tools has everything modern studios need for every stage of a project. Mood boards, the world's best specification tools, procurement tracking, project management, and more. All smartly integrated and easily shareable and always up to date, reducing time-consuming double handling and costly errors. Share work in various formats from PDFs to client-friendly, up-to-date online dashboards. Join the ranks of leading studios using Programma today. Click the Programma link in our show notes to start for free. Dear architects, design leaders, and founders redefining the industry, if you want to shape not only buildings, but the business behind them, this is your moment. Future London Academy's Executive MBA takes you inside the boardrooms of Pentagram, Uber, Zaha Hadid Architects, and Google, where you'll master finance, strategy, and operations from the people who already excel at them. Study along peers transforming the industry worldwide and do it all in just 9 intense intensive weeks over 1 year between London and California. The program is award-winning, transformative, and crafted for design and architecture leaders with 15 or more years of experience. If you're ready to grow your impact, apply now by tapping the Future London Academy link in our show notes.
This episode is brought to you by Chaos. They make award-winning design and visualization tools, and they're really pushing the boundaries with AI. Now, AI is shaking up the architecture and design world, and Chaos is taking a responsible approach. Their tools are built to help architects, designers, and visualization specialists to work faster and explore more ideas without replacing creativity. Basically, Chaos wants AI to make your imagination stronger, not take over. So you get to design with more freedom, create stunning visuals, and stay in control of your work. If you want to see what that looks like, tap the Chaos link in our show notes.
First night, we arrive in the evening, and everyone, some of us woke up at 11 a.m. the next morning.
No, so what happened is that I don't even know what time we went to bed.
It was early.
We
too tired.
We booked a flight which would allow us to just be awake a little bit before it's local time to go to bed, just to kind of like get adjusted to the time difference. So we went to bed at a normal time, and then the baby woke up around like 2 a.m, fine. And then the three of us went back to sleep for like 9 hours straight. And I remember waking up that morning, I opened, one eye, checked my phone, and I see 3 ones on my screen. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I rub my eyes, open both eyeballs, and I see 11:10. I'm like, David, wake up. It's 11. Like half the day's gone already, right? Yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, everyone else was not jet lagged, like my parents, my sister. They've probably been wondering, like, are these guys going to sleep all day? Like, we're not going to see them for the first day.
When I woke up that morning, it was the type of sleep where you feel like you've been cast in resin, or you're like Han Solo cast in carbon, the carbon block, and you're like, what? 11? And
you feel like you could sleep for another 6 hours,
Yeah. And the thing, of course, because the sun sets at 3:30, it's a slow start to the day. It's the first day out. We're groggy. And again, we haven't really experienced a true winter weather in quite a while.
Yeah.
So it took a bit of, a little bit of time and thinking and preparation to gear up to go out, because we haven't done it in years. So by the time we get out, it's like we had like 2 hours of daylight and then the sun was setting. So our day one was like 2 hours worth of time. I think actually I will say the first evening, the 3 hours we were out was in a way one of my favorites, because everything was brand new.
Mm-hmm.
I like night times in cities. There's the lights.
But it was Christmas too, so they had like all the Christmas
decorations.
Decor, which was nice.
Some Christmas markets we walked through. We ended up getting a really good meal, considering it was a good place, but also we were lucky because we had a big group. We didn't have a reservation, which apparently you need reservations like everywhere almost. And it was just nice. We walked around and got some hot chocolate or whatever we did. It was a perfect, introduction to the city.
I'm glad. It's funny because I did the itinerary soon after we booked the tickets, which was more than 6 months in advance of the trip. So I myself forgot what I had put in the itinerary and the places and stuff. So it was a nice surprise for myself too.
Topics. Let's talk about food.
So our friends who live there, the husband is pretty funny because he has his opinion on like the local, cuisine.
Yeah.
And something that's very popular there is basically the equivalent of a bruschetta in Italy, or a tartine in France, which is basically a slice of bread with stuff on it.
Open-faced sandwich,
Open-faced sandwich, if you will.
Would they call it a smorgasbord? Something like that?
I don't know how you pronounce it.
I'm butchering it.
And so you see that everywhere. That's like the thing, that everybody does. And he found it really funny because, if anybody is into like cooking and like more complex food, it seems pretty basic to have a piece of toast and, put stuff on it. Like that's not cooking,
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know, maybe it's the equivalent of a local hot dog or something. So there was a lot of that you would see around. But overall, I would say the food that we had throughout the 2 weeks we were there, was all pretty good everywhere we were. Yeah. And actually, I was very, very surprised by the plating skills of the food that's being served.
Yeah.
you would like, we went to, a couple of museums and we had to get like lunch or something because we needed to eat something and didn't necessarily have time to sit at a restaurant or do research. And oftentimes when you do that in France or even in the States, like the food at those cafes is like something people microwave and it's just kind of like sad.
It's like a 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10.
It's all great. And oh my God, you would get things at a museum cafe and it's like they plated like a Michelin star restaurant. I mean, the plate itself is beautiful, right? Yeah. The food is colorful. It's like carefully put together and composed, and the taste was really good and fresh. So I was extremely surprised by that.
All the food we had was good. I don't think we had...
We went to an aquarium, right? Like, I think it was the Christmas day, because everything was closed that day. So we're like, the aquarium is open, let's go there. They had a cafe restaurant to eat at. I'm like, okay, we're just going to get, some fish and chips or whatever. Delicious stuff. It was like good.
I had a duck burger that was really good. Yeah, all the food we had was good. And we had... I think my memory's fuzzy, but we had a few meals out that were nicer establishments, and those were really good too. We definitely could have had even better food, but it would have required reservations, a lot more planning than we just didn't do. But so, like the baseline quality seemed to be quite high. But local cuisine, there's the smørrebrød, which is not the right way to say it, but it's the open-faced sandwich thing, which it seems to be a lot of times it's like shrimp they put on top, or they have Danish meatballs. At least that's what they were called in the market that I got mine from. But it's nothing like, it's nothing fancy. They have the Christmas drink, which I don't know like how truly traditional this is, but it's called glog, or it's spelled that way.
Yeah, the glog.
Which is like a glogg, something like this.
It's like a hot wine.
Hot wine.
With whiskey and spices and all kinds of stuff.
The one I got, so I ordered one, and the guy was like, "Do you want rum?" I'm like, "Sure." I didn't realize rum was sort of an additional thing, which is fine. But all of us who were drinking it kept coughing because the fumes off of this thing were so strong. It was really good until it got kind of cold. I'm like, yeah, this is not so great when it's cold. I'm trying to think what else we had that was local. Well, we did go to a fair number of like cafe coffee places, and I don't drink coffee, but on the trip I did because I wanted to try their coffee, and also I got consistently, on average, probably 3 hours of sleep a night. I just couldn't sleep on the trip. Now, the benefit of me not drinking coffee for the last 5 years is now when I drink coffee, it works really well. So I just had a cup of coffee every day. I was good to go. But the Danish coffee, I thought was really, really nice.
So I drink coffee here and there and occasionally, and I did not try their coffee there. And it was my biggest regret.
It was not the strongest. It was like on the lighter side, but it didn't have... I'm not a coffee aficionado either, but it didn't have like the kind of burnt like aftertaste flavor that sometimes coffee has. It was,
but the burnt flavor is an American thing. Like it's, like it's Starbucks signature. It's the one thing when my dad first had Starbucks was like, what's with this coffee? I think they messed it up. I'm like, I taste it. I'm like, no, that's how it tastes. It's like, oh, this is disgusting.
So the coffee was great. The first, bakery cafe we went to was the one in the corner. What was it called?
Hans Cafe.
Hans?
Teeny tiny hole in the wall. That was incredible. It was the plain croissant that they had there was my favorite one. My favorite plain one. It had like the right consistency, a little flavor of hazelnut, not too flaky, so you don't feel like you're eating a ball of air. Like it was actually doughy and it was perfect. It was perfect. I have to say we had several pastries throughout because there was a few like well-known bakeries that we wanted to hit.
We had that one. We had what was it? The chain that we went to, not Emerson.
Emery's.
Yeah, that's
pretty good. I mean,
it was good, but
basic.
It seemed to be more of a like kind of general chain that you would go to.
We had the famous Heart Bakery.
Yeah,
which was really good.
Yeah.
But the top-notch one to me was Andersen and Maillard.
Yeah,
that was like, I mean, they had this, you probably have to see photos that we'll try and post, but they had this cube-shaped croissant which, you know, coming from a French person would be insulting. Like, what the heck are you doing to the croissant shape? Filled with pistachio in the middle.
Yeah.
But not like, oh, here is a big sweet blob of pistachio, like the purest cream pistachio you could find. And it was the most delicious thing I've ever had.
Trying to find the pictures of it. Where are we here? We need pictures. Yeah. Yeah. You know, to be fair, we purchased and ate the Anderson and Maillard croissant.
Right away.
You'd call it? No, you call it. What do you call it?
Viennoiserie.
What?
Viennoiserie.
The Venezuela's. In the morning when they opened, and ate it, you know, right across the street at their little kind of open space.
Yeah.
Fresh. Heart Bakery. Part of the group was sick, so I bought them like late morning, and then we ate them at around like 3 p.m. or so. So there was a little bit of like a 4-hour gap that would affect things. But I still think, even if I eaten the Heart ones immediately, I still think the Anderson Maillard was better.
It was,
Sublime would be the word.
I kept saying during the trip, like, the best croissants are not in France, they're in Copenhagen. I still think that, and I do still think that.
There was another one that we didn't make it to that our friend recommended, and she said that it was even better.
Juno Bakery.
Juno. So we'll have to go back to Copenhagen during the summer.
But, you know, in all fairness, too, those bakeries are not the cheapest croissant. You know,
No. They're
like,
expensive.
I've never been to a really expensive bakery in Paris that, you know, might have the best croissant. So actually, I might have to do that next time we go back to France, is stop there and compare.
That's a good idea.
Because, you know, the croissant we got was like $8 croissant. Like, it was not like a $1 croissant.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if we put a little bit of things into perspective, you know.
We had, the croissants were a lot of fun. And then the friend got this giant panettone. I always want to say panna cotta.
No, panna cotta is like
I know.
more of a yogurt.
When I think of panettone, I think of Pantone. So I'm like, it can't be panettone because that's too close to Pantone. The panettone, this giant thing that's the size of like someone's head from Heart. And that was so fucking good. And we got to have that for breakfast for 4 days in a row. Everyone had a slice.
Yeah, it was delicious.
No, food was really good. And actually the first meal we had at Union Kitchen the first night was probably one of the best ones. And maybe it's because,
lunch,
we just landed. But it was really, really good quality.
Yeah.
No one in the group really drinks. And I'm not a huge drinker, but I like beer. So I would get some craft beers. And it seems like I saw a lot of IPAs in Copenhagen. And I think I heard that's kind of like their jam.
That's their jam.
And so you go to the store, you go wherever, and then they have like the Brooklyn. I'm like, no, I'm not going to get a Brooklyn IPA. I don't need to do that. But they had some local ones that were hazy IPAs, and they were so good. So good. And of course, because it's not the United States, you can have a can of beer and drink it out in the street, which people don't do that everywhere. I'm like, I'm going to do it anyway because you can. It's quite nice to have like a really delicious hazy IPA and walk down like a Christmas street, whatever era with some people and just have a cold, it's winter, but have a cold drink. It was quite pleasant. Yeah. Until it got knocked over because we were drunk with baby stuff and I lost half my beer.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, the IPAs were great. We had, we went to this area called the Meatpacking Street. I don't know, whatever. And we actually had barbecue, like kind of like Southern American, whatever style barbecue. That was really good. It was all just, good food.
We had good ice cream too.
Some really good ice cream.
Really good ice cream.
They have a lot of hot dog stands, and I was meaning to research like the history about hot dogs in Denmark or Copenhagen. But we had some of those. Those were really good. But there wasn't, from what we had and from what we've seen, there's not the culinary variety and depth as like other places. Like France, come on, there's like so much variety and good food. Same thing with like Asian countries. Copenhagen, it was like, I don't really know. Because we kept asking like, what's the thing? What are the things here? And it's like, well, you have the smørrebrød. I'm like, okay, yeah. And what else? We have the glog. Okay, what else? We have hot dogs.
Well,
okay,
we thought, we thought they would have a lot of like fish on the menu everywhere, but actually there wasn't that much. Like salmon, I thought would be like very common, and a lot of things with salmon, and not so much.
They had salmon, but it was always in the form of what I would call like lox. I don't know if that's what they would call it there.
Yeah. Well, it's smoked salmon.
Smoked salmon. Right. There's this place called Gasoline Grill, which is, I guess it's Danish. And I guess the story is that it was a burger joint that started in a gas station, and now it's a chain. So we end up having 2 burgers. We went to, the first place we went to was not Gasoline Grill because it was closed. We went to Jager, which is supposed to be pretty good. I found, this is for the foodies who go to Copenhagen, I found the burger at Jager to be of high quality, but the patty had, like, it must have been 0 seasoning.
Yeah, there's no salt, no pepper.
There's no pepper, no salt, no nothing. So despite it being what I could taste like a very high quality, like all fresh, really good, it like didn't do anything for me.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm just eating meat.
The meat was really good. Like, you could tell it was like good quality meat. It was big. The bun was really good. But yeah, there was no seasoning, and that just doesn't hit the spot for me.
And so then we did end up having Gasoline Grill because we kept seeing him everywhere a few days later. Gasoline Grill, by comparison, was definitely a lot more flavorful, pretty greasy.
Very greasy.
I would not say that, any of these burgers are... Like, if you're a burger aficionado, I don't think you're going to be blown away by these things. Like, I'd put up In-N-Out and Shake Shack as the same tier as these. They're different. Shake
Shack way higher than that. In-N-Out is... It's an American basic burger, which is good for what it is, but I would not place it anywhere near Shake Shack or a Gasoline Grill.
No,
but there is like the homemade burger. That's probably like the best tasting burger, right? And then there is like the chain burger. In-N-Out is a great chain burger, but it would never beat up a homemade burger.
You don't know what you're saying. You don't know what you're saying, bro. But yeah, so they were good, but they were not, anything phenomenal. What else have we had food-wise that really stood out?
We had fish and chips 3 times, so it must have been a theme.
Well, look, fish and chips, there's like good fish and chips and there's bad fish and chips. So actually one of the meals we had was along this historic and therefore very touristy and kind of expensive strip that has like a canal. Very, very beautifully lit at night, very picturesque. And of course there's restaurants there. And there was a day when we were wandering around trying to find lunch and we had a tough time because we could eat outside at a market, but it was so cold that some of the people in the group were like, I need to be inside. And we had a party of 7. So when we call places, they're like, no, there's no way, we're booked out. So finding a spot was difficult. So we ended up going to this touristy section, which we'd already been to before, and going to a sort of like, not Irish, but like a pub.
Yeah, it was kind
gastropub, Irish, whatever thing.
Kind of a pub.
Which you always see along these strips in places, wherever you are. And they always have food. They always have burgers and fries and, of course, beer. And the quality is always going to be like, again, 5 out of 10, but the price is going to be like a 15 out of 10. But I'm like, it's everyone's hungry, tired. We got old people and baby. Let's just get in there and do it. The food was still really good. And actually the fish and chips was one of the best fish and chips we had on the trip. So like even in a place like that, or like the museums, like you mentioned, everything was just, it was good.
The good thing if you travel from the United States to there and you live in a place that's like LA, SF, or New York is that it's not more expensive there than it is in those places. So you won't really have a sticker shock.
If you come from those places.
If you come from those places. If you come from elsewhere, it's
not cheap.
It's not cheap.
I mean, we didn't go to the cheap places, of course, but like consistently coffee was like $8 a coffee.
Yeah.
It was like 46, 45, 60, 65, whatever.
Crown.
Yeah. Maybe even sometimes more than that. So it was not cheap stuff, and they're small. They're not American size, things. They're tiny, tiny cups. But
but that's the size of coffee too. Like again, coffee in the United States is juice. It's diluted. It's too diluted.
Haven't you heard the United States is the center of the universe and everything is measured against the United States?
I don't want to talk about the United States today. The news are too sad.
Geographically, though, so kind of fun fact thing, when we're traveling to new places, one of the things that I like to try and figure out or to learn to see is like how big is the place I'm at and like how does it compare to other places? When I was looking at the map of Copenhagen and I was in charge of navigating, I kept thinking, man, it's going to take a long time to get from point A to point B. Because, of course, on the phone, the map scales to fill the screen. It doesn't say the same scale. It's not like 1/8 scale or whatever 1,000th scale. And actually, Copenhagen, the main portion with all of like the historical and tourist things, let's say, in a certain way, graphically looks kind of like Manhattan. So in the back of my mind, I kept using Manhattan as a scale reference. And it took me a couple days to realize, like, oh, this is like half the scale of Manhattan, because to get from here to there is like a 10-minute walk. Anyway, what I was going to say with the United States, I found this video that shows the United States scaled accurately overlaid in other countries. Because when we see the two-dimensional map of the world, it's flattened, but things are not to scale. So in other words, the United States actually appears oftentimes a lot smaller compared to other countries on the map we're all used to seeing. But if you take the United States and overlay it on top of Canada and scale it so it's actually 1-to-1 to each other, the United States is massive. It's the vast majority of Canada. I forget what it compares to Russia to. It's huge. It's a lot bigger than the map presents itself as. So there's a little fun geographical.
So it is the center of the universe. Right?
It's the center of the universe.
What did you think of the people there?
So this was a topic of conversation throughout the trip. Obviously hindered by the fact that none of us speak Danish, and we were only there for a little bit of time. The consensus from the group seemed to be that people there were outwardly not the happiest, not the most bubbly, and not necessarily the most polite, and would be easily annoyed if you were slightly in their way. I don't mean like you're in the middle of the bike lane, like on your phone being a dick. I mean like you're slightly crossing over to the bike lane, or not even a bike lane, like a walking path or whatever else. And it just seemed like the outward disposition that everyone had who lived there, they didn't seem like very happy people.
So the happy thing is interesting because...
That's the group's consensus. That's not necessarily my...
if I think about where I grew up, I would tend to think that the people there were the same.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that it comes from the climate. Like Italians are very outwardly, and they sing when they talk, and they're happy because Italy is beautiful, it's warm, it's nice, and all of that, right? Denmark, it was grey, cold. You don't really want to be outside, But
the winters, but it's not like 90% of winter, of the year. They have summers, they have springs and falls, don't they?
Yeah, maybe they're happier in different seasons.
But I can't.
But I don't. But like it would, like even just within France, if you compare people from the north and people from the south, people from the north are more like reserved, less peppy, less outwardly, less don't necessarily like have a happy smile whenever they walk down the street. Like that's just not what it is. If you compare, Copenhageners to Southern California peeps, well, that's like the two ends of the spectrum. I mean, and again, here you have the beach, you have the palm trees. It's like vacation town all year round, one season. Like it's just a different mindset, I think. And I don't think that it means internally that people are not happy there. I just think they they don't express it the same way it's been expressed here.
That all makes sense to me. And I want to stay on this point, but it reminds me that we were at a museum, I think it was the Danish Architecture Center, and there was a video clip of two Danish designers or architects talking about what Danish design is and what it means to create Danish design and what it means to be Danish as well. And their description of design, which they directly linked to people, because they said, this is my description of how I would describe Danish design. And it's also the same way I describe the people. Oh, fuck, I forget the words. It was like very well thought out. This is not verbatim, but it was basically like very well thought out, like, very attentive, very caring to what we're creating, but reserved. And there's basically a limited palette. And there's not like an over expression. It's not, you don't over express things for no reason. And there's a kind of a reservedness to the design and the way of being. And I think that is super interesting. I don't think it's right or wrong. I think it's different. And actually, to be honest,
but also it goes back to the conversation about, the streets and how the streets function. I feel like if you kind of like tone down your emotion in like your day-to-day life, then maybe that also preserves some of the more peaceful lifestyle for everyone to coexist, rather than like everyone have their emotion and their expressions being like thrown all, up and down.
So what we're talking about really at the the intersection of all these things is the culture of a place, right? And I think the culture of a place is created by all these different factors that create the culture, and all these different factors and things inform each other and then make each other more like one direction or another. And the other leg of this is transportation, which is not a sexy thing to talk about, but long-time listeners know I've had plenty to say about the New York City subway transportation system. And, we've traveled to other places too. So I'm familiar deeply with New York, but also like Japan, Paris, Spain, now Copenhagen, a little bit San Francisco, whatever else, right? Copenhagen's metro lines, a lot of them are actually quite new from what I understand.
Even in Switzerland, we took the trains.
Switzerland, but Copenhagen's metro is incredibly efficient.
Again, to put things in context with New York, the number of line, the size of the train, like it's like, I don't know, a tenth of or a 50th of the New York City subway system.
True.
So, in all fairness.
And also the New York subway system was created in the 1930s, and it's still basically the same infrastructure as then. A lot of the lines in Copenhagen, from what I understood, are new, like the last, I think, 10
Even
years or
something. Even the stations, everything looks like it was done within the next
So I'm not
years.
trying to compare those two necessarily, but my point is that...
But it impacts...
And I know other places, other cities have metros that are probably just as efficient. But again, this is talking from someone who's basically a former New Yorker. So... the experience of the metro in Copenhagen, first of all, everything's clean. Secondly, I think every single station I went to, even the ones that are remote, all have elevators. The elevators are glass. They're pretty pristine. Some of them got kind of beat up because of some, vandalism or whatever.
Clean.
But they're clean. They're quiet. They're smooth. They smell great. Like they are... It's an elevator you would find in like a private office building, but it's in the street, and they're like incredibly quiet. Like there's no clanking, there's no like clunk. They just go down and they stop. Now, get to the platform. Here in Copenhagen, it's not like New York where you can fall off 6 feet and hit your head.
The tracks are closed off.
Tracks are closed off, so there's none of this like the danger of falling into the pit. And there's signs that tell you when the train's showing up. And those signs, they're legible, they're accurate, they're not estimates. And thirdly, the trains show up during the weekday, is it once every 3 minutes?
Yeah, 2 or 3 minutes. But it's all automated lines. There's no drivers.
All automated. And this
so
is
it is predictable because it's all on schedule. And
that also means that the doors open and close pretty quickly compared to other places. We had a trouble in the first day because we didn't know that and we got kind of stuck. But the detail that made me laugh, again, coming from New York, were when I was there in New York, you'd have these signs that would say like, oh, here's the one coming in 20 minutes. And then like 28 minutes go by and it still says like 20 minutes. You're like, what the fuck is this? The crazy thing about the signs in Copenhagen, it says the M1 line, 2.5 minutes. A half. They list 30 seconds on the sign. And when it gets down to a minute, it says a minute. And when it gets down to half a minute, it says half a minute. And then in 30 seconds or less, there's the train. It was amazing. Yeah. And the thing is, because the city's small and because it runs like legit, like always exactly on that schedule, it's amazing how different the city experience is from an ease of getting around, like for sure. Like it's not as stressful.
Stress about, yeah.
You don't need to stress if you are walking down the stairs and you see your train coming and you miss it. No stress. The next one's gonna be here in 3 minutes. 3 minutes is worth what? Nothing, right?
Even when you come in the train, if you have a stroller and there's special zones in every single car for like strollers, handicap bikes to be in versus not be in.
Yep.
As soon as you come in with a stroller, people stand up, move away. They know. It's just, I don't know, everybody knows the rule and just respects the rule.
So it's hyper efficient, it's hyper clean, it makes sense, it's perfect. And so this is what I'm thinking, right? From an architectural design, urban design, infrastructure design standpoint, this is what we want. This, again, the pinnacle, right? This is it. Fascinatingly, though, you lose a lot in terms of the culture of a place, let's say, when things are almost too perfect. And I'm not advocating for not doing it correctly. Of course not. But like the culture of New York City, the culture of other cities and other places partially comes from the fact that there's chaos and things don't work. And there's this friction, sometimes too much friction for my taste. Like, again, waiting for half an hour for the one train and it still doesn't show up. Like, I don't want, there's a limit to my patience. But like, there is a spirit to the place, a grunginess, an attitude to the people, an attitude to their work, an attitude to how they socialize, to their creativity, their intensity. That all quickly diminishes when the infrastructure of a city is too perfect. And for us who have lived in other places, and people in our group have lived in other places, friends we met who live in other cities, they're like, yeah, I don't know if I could be here because it's too perfect. Which is a crazy thing.
I think also for me it was, I mean, the timeliness and the systems being respected, I enjoyed it. I think for me it was more the homogeneity of the place.
Right.
And the fact that, you know, if you look at the population, they're all within, I don't know, mid-30s to mid-40s. They all have their strollers. They're all white. They're all, you know, dressed the same way. They're all, I don't know, moving the same way. Like, it's just too much of the same. There was not enough differences and eclecticism or something of the people.
But I think actually, again, it all ties together. So like, I don't know the right word, but let's say conceptually, when you have trains that are delayed, it creates these little schisms and gaps, which allows for variety, I think. Even in the people. Yeah. You know, when everything's so perfect all the time, I think it lends itself to a much more homogeneous way of existing. Like, you know,
it's also not you lose the idea of the collectiveness of using the system, because you don't have to have any interaction with anyone on boarding that subway.
It's interesting.
You know, so you have no social exchange. You're in the same tube, but you have absolutely no social exchange. You hop in and hop out.
It's almost like, how do I think about this? The subway car, or the metro car, or the line, right? When it is too perfect, it's a neutral character in public space. It has no impact whatsoever. When the metro line is funky, it's a character, and it creates something for everyone to respond to in unison. Years ago, when I was in college, I took a class called environmental psychology. And one of the questions posed in the class was, okay, how would you design or create an elevator cab that will create a sense of community and force or encourage people to talk to each other? One solution, a direction of a solution was, well, you put in something in there that is a third element, that's an element that's separate from all the people that they can respond to, like a TV showing the news or something like that, right? So the elevator with its TV screen or whatever else becomes a character that you respond to, and that creates community. And it's kind of, and it reminds me of that. It's like when the subway line is perfect all the time, there's nothing, it's just there. You don't, it doesn't do anything. It's a fascinating, I guess, paradox in a certain sense. Mm-hmm. You know, when we were there, you see people of all ages in Copenhagen and in all major cities, and in a place like New York or like LA or San Francisco or whatever, you see some of like the people who are the millennial generation, whatever younger generation, and they're like kind of radical, right? They're the counterculture people, the rebellious. They have that energy. That's how they dress, is what they do. I'm like, but in order to do that, you need to have something to rebel against. Mm-hmm. If you're in a place where everything works perfectly, what the fuck are you rebelling against? Like, can you really be an anarchist in Copenhagen? What are you gonna be upset about? Food, I mean, it's expensive, yeah, of course, but like the food is good. It's safe. It's uber. We could talk about the safety too. It's incredibly safe. Everything works. So what is there? And tying back to the point of happiness, there's two trains of thoughts with happiness, two ways to think about it. One is outward expression of like joy, which is maybe what we first think about, especially when we think about like Southern Californians and they're like, oh, I'm going to go get boba, guys. And there's also the idea of happiness that is more reserved, and it's just being content, which is actually, I think, more...
So maybe a more long-lasting happiness.
Is a more true way of metric of measuring, happiness. But that doesn't mean that you're smiling all the time.
Yeah, and I think you shouldn't make a mistake between happiness and excitement.
True.
You're excited to go get boba. It doesn't mean you're happy in your actual lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. The babies there, I have to say, were not cute. That was one of the... No, honestly, out of everybody... So the interesting thing is that everybody has babies. Everybody has a stroller. Some cities, everyone has a dog. Well, in Copenhagen, everyone has a baby. Doesn't matter how old you are, who you are. If you don't have a baby, you just don't belong there. It was kind of interesting. So out of all of the babies we've seen for 12 days, I have to say, non-biasedly, that most of them were not cute. We probably saw two cute ones.
Yeah, they're all kind of funky looking.
They're kind of funky looking. Well, they're kind of pale because they don't get enough sunlight. So, you give it to them fine. And then they also put like those like winter beanies that, it was a trend when I was a kid too. Like the one that you put your head in and you just have a circle that shows your face. And it keeps your head warm and your ears warm, but you don't look good in those things, right? And they all put that on them. And I'm like, I don't think that's helping your kid.
Yeah, look, there are funky babies and there are attractive babies by, today's standards. And a lot of the babies there, like, they had like old man, old face bug eye, like.
They had like bags under their eyes. Yeah. They look pale. They just look like, I don't know, not well,
But the adults there, they did not look, strange. They look fine and normal, attractive, whatever.
Yeah, all the young girls looked all the same.
So this is a weird thing. They all had
the fake tan, blonde hair.
Yeah.
Same mannerism. It was kind of, I was like, are those clones of each other?
No, but seriously though, this is, I suppose if for a white person who visits China for the first time, they might have the same remarks, but like.
Oh, I was a white person visiting Copenhagen. That's what. So.
No, but yeah, there's this like I can't tell their ages. They're between 15 and 30, somewhere in that bracket. Yeah. Exactly like you said, they all have the same skin tone, all the same haircut, same earrings, same either black, not trench coat, but like winter coat, or sometime it's like the camel color, mostly black though. Same like Ugg boots. Everyone wears Ugg boots. But not just their clothing, like their faces. Like I swear to God, I might have seen like cousins at least like 3 times on the trips. Like they're really close to being, and they all hang out with each other. I'm like, well, this is so weird. We
sat one day to grab a snack at a place somewhere, and there was a group of young girls like that who sat at the table next to us, and you're like, are those twins? And they had, I don't think they were twins.
I think they might have been twins.
But they had the same coat, exact same coat, and they looked the same. I don't think they were, but it was confusing for myself as well.
For me at least, I have this problem. Maybe others don't. But when I'm watching a TV show, and sometimes there's twins in the TV show or movie, but they dress differently, and I have to do it. I'm like, wait, are those twins? And you're like, yeah, those are twins, you idiot. I'm like, well, I can't tell.
But
that was my experience.
Most of the time, they're not twins, but you think they are.
But that's like the experience I had throughout with this demographic of female. It was really, really strange. The guys also had a certain profile about them. Again, the same kind of coat, gloves, glasses, thin glasses, round circular glasses. But yeah, the girls, the females, it was like out of a movie. It's like you guys all secretly disappear at night and then show up during the day at the same time. Like, what the fuck?
I know.
You guys are all coordinating like behind the scenes on the dark web. Like how is this?
We were easy to spot as tourists because we look nothing like
not many Asians
people around.
First of all,
not many Asians, not many blacks, not many
Mexicans,
Hispanic. Like it was very uniform, and it is always kind of a weird thing, even for me, who's white. Like, it is weird.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. It feels like it's missing something.
Yeah. But so the last thing I'll say, though, it is a safe place. And traveling there with a kid, if anyone wants to travel internationally to like, you know, a European destination and they're concerned because they have their first kid, like this is the easiest place to be.
It was easy, even during the winter. I mean, we didn't get snow. Maybe with snow it would have been a bit more challenging. But, you know, another thing that people might have heard is how Nordic countries leave their kids in the stroller outside.
Mm-hmm.
Like people go to eat at a restaurant and they just leave the baby in the stroller outside the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't leave our kid in the stroller because we also wanted him to experience, you know, like the dining and whatever. But you leave your stroller out in the street. Like, we did that everywhere. Yeah. And it's super safe. Nobody, again, people just respect the rules and respect others. Yeah. And it made the trip very easy. If you have to, you know, haul a stroller around on vacation, this is a very easy place to do that.
Again, also because the elevators did not take more time than using escalators. They were faster than the escalators. So,
and
like,
the elevator takes you like directly down onto the platform.
The signage is crystal clear. Like getting around is so
like we
easy.
did New York with the stroller, and we did Copenhagen with the stroller. And New York was so much hard work with the stroller.
Not
like
easy.
Elevators no working. Go like 3 stories down underground, carrying the kid and the stroller, and you know sidewalks were shit, and you know all this stuff. Despite having pavers in most of the streets in Copenhagen, it was so easy.
Yeah, really, really easy city to
and
get
you know
around.
it seems that the summertime is the best time to go, but honestly, the wintertime was fine too, and the short daylight was not so much of an issue.
Well, especially if you're traveling with like a big group, people are older, and you have a baby. Like you, the group doesn't have the energy to be out 12 hours a day anyway.
So it worked out well.
And the city looks pretty nice at night. They could afford to light some of their monuments at night, though.
There was this church we went to see during the day, and I think we walked by it at night, and there was no light on it. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you know, light pollution, I get it, but come on, like put a couple little like bulbs out there, like you know, like you're in a city, come on. No,
yeah,
that was pretty cool. I have to say, though, that I thought the Christmas spirit would be a bit more than what it was. I do love the decoration everywhere. Like, the lights was very pretty, and I actually do like the fact that we saw it with the lights.
Yeah.
And not without.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Christmas market, I thought, would stay there longer, and people would have the Christmas spirit a little bit more. We would enter stores and buy things, and I would be the one leaving the store saying, like, you know, Merry Christmas or Happy Holidays. And people are like, oh, yeah, Happy Holidays. I'm like, hello, like, Christmas is in 3 days. Like, you know, get your spirit on here.
So somehow this recording got clipped prematurely. I'm not quite sure how that took place. But when we talk about the architecture of Copenhagen in a forthcoming recording, we will cover anything that we didn't do in this one. So for now, it's just the outro. So thanks for listening. And if you like what we're doing, then again, as usual, please leave a review of us in the Apple Podcast app. You can also find us on Spotify, YouTube, and we also have an Instagram, which is Second Studio Pod, and our website is also secondstudiopod.com. So give us a follow on those places. And if you have any topics you want to suggest to us, or guests, or questions, or whatever else, you can also text our hotline, which is 213-222-6950, 213-222-6950. And that's it for now. More great stuff coming our way. Thanks, everyone, for listening, and talk soon. Bye.